Hello, here's Chad. Thank you for being with me on this podcast where I will tell you in 10 minutes whether a book is worth it for you. Recently, I stayed up till 3 a.m. to read a book titled Self-Compassion, The Proven Power of Being Kind to Yourself, written by Kristin Neff. Imagine yourself reading an almost 300-page book at midnight. How would you feel? Exhausted or sleepy? Surprisingly, I didn't feel the same this time. On the other hand, this book brought me thoughtful, peaceful, and reflective moments. And now, I will tell you why. This is a book about self-compassion. Before I start, take 3 seconds to think. What do you think about self-compassion? We have heard of self-compassion, but we are not really familiar with it. In definition, it means being kind to yourself. However, what does that actually mean? If you are confused, congratulations, this book will help. This book explains the concept of self-compassion logically and clearly, from why to how, integrated with the culture and individual factors. Moreover, the author, Kristin Neff, a research psychologist, has presented numerous studies to support the benefits of self-compassion, making her claim highly credible and persuasive. Nevertheless, Kristin also shared her personal story and experience with self-compassion, making it much more convincing. Overall, this book is a wiki, a guidebook, and a sharing of self-compassion. Kristin, the author, is a pioneer scholar in self-compassion. Therefore, without a doubt, her book contained all the necessary information on self-compassion, including its detailed components, benefits, and way to possess. She shed light on how self-compassion helps us improve, alleviate our suffering, gain clarity about ourselves, and seek happiness. These ideas are inspiring. However, after reading, I realized that even though self-compassion is great, it is still extremely difficult to possess. One thing the book seldom mentions is how difficult it is to possess self-compassion. Therefore, Williamson and his colleagues conducted a study in 2025 to investigate the perceived drawbacks of cultivating self-compassion among women diagnosed with gestational diabetes mellitus. It was then found out a few difficulties arise when individuals try to practice self-compassion. First, regard the limited knowledge. Self-compassion is complex and requires deep understanding, not blind self-kindness. Instead, there are 2 additional components of self-compassion, which is the shared humanity and mindful awareness. Without knowing the complete picture of self-compassion, we are prone to misconception about it. For example, in a 2016 study by Bayes and Loomis, they found that people practicing self-compassion may treat it as an escape from their mistakes, which can lead to irresponsible behavior. Self-compassion could also become an excuse for us to be satisfied with the current moment, facilitating indulgence and laziness. In addition, we might even perceive self-compassion as self-pity, leading us to wallow in our problems while ignoring others' struggles. In reality, self-compassion still aims to motivate us in a caring, comfortable way. It may replace the fear of failure, insecurity, and inadequacy that once drove us but also made us suffer. Therefore, self-compassion is a deep topic and a lifelong skill. It requires clear guidance, day-to-day practice, constant reflection, and persistent effort to make it happen. Otherwise, it might just become an idea that comes fast but also leaves fast. Williamson and his colleagues also pointed out another difficulty in practicing self-compassion: the emotion. As mentioned in the book and previously, self-compassion requires mindfulness and consciousness to provide us with clarity towards our vulnerabilities and flaws. However, when we shift our attention towards our suffering and pain and intend to treat ourselves with compassion, our distress would be triggered. This phenomenon, known as backdraft, mentioned in Science study in 2024, suggests that these painful memories and traumas might haunt us again, giving rise to unpleasant emotions such as anxiety and guilt. It will also prompt behaviors such as aggression and withdrawal. Moreover, we might even hold misbelief that self-compassion must be expressed positively, thereby suppressing our negativity. It then turns to be more suffering and suffocation. These perceived unpleasant experiences and emotions will eventually become a resilience for us to learn and apply self-compassion. Although looking at our faults, regrets, and old memories are inevitable in self-compassion, as we will have to be aware of how our past has shaped us. We still have to be careful about how these negative emotions arise and influence us. We wouldn't hope our compassion to become a tool for re-traumatization. Of course, nothing is easy in this world, and even self-compassion is not an exception. However, finishing this book has led me into deep reflection, especially on my own values and the surrounding culture. In the book, there are other concepts that contrast with self-compassion, and they are self-judgment and self-criticism. Why do we need self-judgment and criticism? The answer might be obvious. It is because we hope to strive for excellence and pursue success. Therefore, we set high goals for ourselves, push ourselves as hard as we can, and try to avoid any small mistakes. We would always seek out our inadequacies, judging and criticizing ourselves continuously. We kept reminding ourselves how bad we are, so that we're motivated to make changes and improvements. In our culture, there is an ancient idiom that says, only those who endure the most brutal hardships can rise above others. In the West, there is another similar motto as no pain, no gain. Looking at their similarities, we may find out that we have already linked suffering and success together. We believe that suffering and pain are essential on the path to success. Therefore, even though we were bothered and haunted by our own harsh judgment and mean criticism, we normalize it and rationalize it. And this book has offered me a chance to ask myself a question. Do I really gain from these self-criticism and self-judgment? The answer is still yes. The self-judgment has kept me alert from my previous mistake. It reminds me of my hurtful experience and urges me to learn from it. On the other hand, the self-criticism has curbed my laziness. It directs me to the desired behavior, hence the desired outcome. Indeed, self-judgment and criticism help me become a better me. However, these improvements and success brought by self-criticism and judgment always come at a cost. It creates tremendous pressure, and the pressure turns into anxiety and distress for me. It makes me ruminate on my unpleasant past, which took away my confidence. It reminds me of how awful failure feels, so that I become afraid of it. The cause of self-criticism and self-judgment is often unbearable. Therefore, is there a way for us to pursue success while taking care of our own? Yes, and that is called self-compassion. Many people, including me, thought self-compassion is just a mindset that comforts us. However, it is not. Self-compassion actually has no difference with either self-judgment or self-criticism in its goal. It still hopes to help us improve, become better, and pursue our dream. Possessing self-compassion doesn't mean we will have to eliminate self-judgment and self-criticism. Instead, it is just an alternative to treat ourselves. Self-compassion asks us to acknowledge our mistakes and pain as they are part of being human. Self-compassion asks us to embrace our past. If it is great, we could keep the warmth in our heart, and if it's bad, we could be open to it, learn from it. Nevertheless, self-compassion also asks us to see ourselves in the present moment clearly. Thereby, we can notice our pain, smooth our wound with compassion. There is a quote I love most in this book, which could summarize the idea of self-compassion. It says, "Life is sucks sometimes, but we don't have to make things worse than they already are." Like what the book says, self-compassion is not a panacea. It heals us with kindness, interconnectedness, and mindfulness. However, it doesn't cure us. The pain, the hurtful past, and the sufferings are still here and will not be eliminated by self-compassion. Instead, self-compassion offers a different path for us to look forward to our future and look back at our past with a caring heart. Thank you for being with me today. If you are interested in self-compassion, go check out this book, Self-Compassion, The Proven Power of Being Kind to Yourself by Kristin Neff. Lastly, I hope the compassion is always with you. Goodbye.